back to room 237, and this is going to be a long video, and one that's been a long time coming, almost 5.5 months. And as you can tell behind me, my Italian shelf is in complete disarray. That's because I'm finally getting to my complete giallo collection. These are all the ones I own. I have reviewed all these. It's because the Italian marathon is pretty much over. There were 2 more Italian films I was going to get to, but I figured they can wait till next time. And I do need to start doing some Christmas films. But I was debating on whether to do this now or after Christmas. Because there are some gialli I'm hoping to get for Christmas, whether as gifts or, online gift cards or whatever. But I do Christmas haul videos anyway, so if I get any, you'll see them there. But this is what I have to work with now as a giallo collection, and there's going to be a few different videos. This is giallo and what came from giallo, like the Neo-giallo and the homage films that I own. Then I'll do my complete Italian collection video, and then I'm going to do one that is films most commonly called giallo that are not. Films most commonly and mistaken for giallo, because that's a whole other video. Take notes for those so that when you see people doing reviews and they call them giallo, you can comment saying, no, they're not. And this may not be the biggest collection on YouTube, but I'm very proud of it, especially considering that 5 months ago, when I first started buying for this marathon, I only had 18 giallo films. Now I have 96, so I'm pretty proud of it. But to start things off, I just want to show that I do have the documentary All the Colors of Giallo, more of a video essay, but I still enjoyed this. And I have all 3, and I have read all 3 of Troy Howarth's giallo encyclopedias. So I know a lot about gialli. I've seen a lot gialli, and even aside from this, I have a huge wish list of ones I hope to get to someday. So chances are, if you recommend me one, I've already heard of it. But so with these aside, let's get into the collection. I was wondering on how to start this, DVDs, but I thought start at the very beginning. I also kind of want to do a history of giallo video, starting with like this film and work my way up to like modern day, but start with the very first giallo, Mario Bava, who started it all with The Girl Who Knew Too Much. I really enjoy this film. 1963. So if you're wondering about a film that came out prior to 63, chances are it's not a giallo. And then later on, he did $5 for an August Moon, kind of an Agatha Christie type as well, and Bay of Blood. And the reason why they all look like this is because they're part of the 2-volume Mario Bava collection that I have. These are just the gialli that came with it. And apart from that, we also have his highly influential Blood and Black Lace. This was the very first giallo ever made. This is the one that really kind of perfected it, at least for the 60s era. So Blood and Black Lace. Then we have Hatchet for the Honeymoon. This is one of my favorite films by Bava, one of my favorite gialli. Was really surprised by this film. Then I have another copy of Bay of Blood. I actually got this before I got the Bava collection. Many people call this a slasher. This, probably more than any other giallo, inspired the slasher profoundly, so I can see why, but through and through, it's still a giallo. So, and those are all the ones that Mario Bava did. First, I'm just going to go through some of my favorite directors, then I'll get into random ones. Dario Argento. I have all of his gialli as well. After Bava, he reinvented the wheel for giallo and really made it what we know it to be now with his debut film, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Probably still my favorite giallo by Argento. I love The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Then Cat o' Nine Tails, second film. Then he wrapped up his animal trilogy with Four Flies on Grey Velvet. This was a hard movie to find. I did not see this up until I did this marathon. I didn't think I was going to be able to find it. Then we have Tenebrae, one I really enjoy as well. Definitely one of his better known and well liked gialli. I know I skipped one. I still have Blu-rays to get to. Phenomena, really enjoy this film as well. Opera, this was one of the first two gialli I ever saw, and this really helped to get me into the genre, helped me understand what the genre was all about. I enjoyed this very much as well. Trauma, fair film. I still think it's part of, his streak of great films. Very different, more refined, straightforward, but I still enjoy it. Stendhal Syndrome, I would say this is the last of his streak of consistently good films. Definitely weird, adds a lot of CGI, but I still thought this was a solid movie. Card Player, yeah, this feels more like a TV show procedural. Wasn't the biggest fan of The Card Player. There's another one I skipped, that's in Blu-rays. Do you like Hitchcock? Not enough to watch this again. I was not a fan of this. And his last giallo. I did not hate this as much as everyone else did. It's a bad movie, but it's way better than I thought it was going to be. And so with that, these are just Argento's giallo films. And I do have a couple more once I get to Blu-rays. So we have Mario Bava, we have Dario Argento. So now let's just do Lucio Fulci, which I have all of his giallo films as well. We have Don't Torture a Duckling, probably my favorite giallo of his. If not, certainly top 3. Lizard in a Woman's Skin. It had been years in between my first watch and then watching it for the review, and I forgot how good this was. Really enjoy that. Also, Gene Sorrell is one of my favorite actors, Italian giallo actors. This one, I don't like it as much as I used to, but I still like it quite a bit. This is known as probably one of the sleazier giallos. Not the sleaziest, but New York Ripper. Of course, everyone knows about this one. And I have a few more when I get to Blu-rays, but there's Lucio Fulci. And now, my favorite Italian filmmaker that, I really got to discover while doing this marathon, Sergio Martino, with Torso, the first giallo I ever saw, probably my favorite giallo. Prior to this marathon, this was the only Martino film I had seen. And yeah, he's definitely my favorite Italian director at this point. All Colors of the Dark, very stylish, kind of Polanski-inspired giallo. Also my favorite performance by of Edwidge Fenech, my favorite Italian actress, and Case of the Scorpion's Tail, very solid film. I have more when I get to Blu-ray. And then another one of my favorite directors, Umberto Lenzi, which the only DVD I have of his giallo is Spasmo. Very different film, but I enjoyed this. And then Lamberto Bava. The two DVDs giallo I have of his is Midnight Killer, aka You'll Die at Midnight. I think the only way you can get this is a bootleg like this, but it's worth it. I did like this film. A Blade in the Dark. This is one I had to give a rewatch. This is one I did rant on. I think I'm one of the only people on earth that doesn't care too much for this movie, but this is one I'm willing to give a rewatch just to see if I still feel the same. Alright, before I get into the random DVDs, I guess I'll do the Blu-rays. So, first off, continuing with Sergio Martino, we have The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. Probably tied with, second place favorite giallo, along with his other Vice film, Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Had the Key. These two might be tied for second place for my second favorite, behind Torso, also Sergio Martino. Definitely love these films. Just these two I was probably the most blown away by, and kept thinking about even when they were over. Very solid films. Love these. And then Suspicious Death of a Minor. And blend of Polizia as well. Not as good as Martino's other ones, but I thought it was, fair enough. Then back to Argento, we have The Blue Underground of Deep Red and The Arrow of Deep Red, widely considered to be the quintessential giallo, and one of Argento's finest. I do enjoy Deep Red quite a bit, obviously. Just something about crystal plumage that I love so much. And this came out before The Card Player, and that is Sleepless. Very, very good Argento giallo. People don't talk about it as much as his other ones, but definitely his best film post Stendhal Syndrome. Very good. Now we're back to Lucio Fulci with his first giallo, Perversion Story, aka One on Top of Another. I really liked this as well. Another good Gene Sorrell film. Yeah, I can't remember which one I compared this to in my review, but I did enjoy Perversion Story. The Psychic. This goes for a lot of money online for whatever reason, but I enjoyed this as well. One of the rare supernatural gialli. And Murder Rock, which I like. I give this more credit than a lot of people do. This came out after New York Ripper, known to be one of the most sleazy giallo films. This one definitely feels more modest and refined, and I enjoyed this. Now we have Umberto Lenzi with 7 Bloodstained Orchids. I'm not going to keep saying I like it because very, very few of these I disliked. Lamberto Bava's Delirium. Very bizarre, but still a good movie. Crimes of the Black Cat. And So Sweet, So Dead. So that's about half of my giallo Blu-ray. Now we'll get to these ones, which we have another one of my, probably a top favorite giallo, What Have You Done to Solange? Arrow release. Loved this. I liked it more than its follow-up, What Have They Done to Your Daughters? Another one that's a Plitsiateshki hybrid. And then this is one that a friend of mine sent me. The Possessed. She got a box set with this, so she offered me her extra Arrow release. X-Teen Featurette. Go check her channel out. Really like The Possessed. And then we have Bloodstained Butterfly. And yeah, these are all Arrow releases, or at least most of this stack is. But I'm a sucker for older artwork, so I always switch them around. Iguana with the Tongue of Fire. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of this one. Neither was I of this one, but the Pajama Girl case. Double Face. This is one with Klaus Kinski, and he's been in a number of movies where it's kind of nebulous if it's a giallo or not. Like Death Smiles on a Murderer and several other ones. But apparently, he was only in 2 gialli. This and one I'll get to when I go back to DVDs. This one is the closest to a Kubrick film, like an Italian Kubrick film, and I loved it to death. Quiet Place in the Country. Very different giallo, but very Kubrick feeling, looking. Very, very well made. The Designated Victim. Fox with a Velvet Tail. This is an Italian-Spanish co-production. This one I was very surprised by, too. Puzzle. Yeah, this is, there's a couple that kind of unfolds through a series of flashbacks, and this is an Amnesia giallo. This is another one that I was very impressed by. Really like Puzzle. This one, not so much. Murder Obsession. This was the first giallo I reviewed for this marathon. Strip Nude for Your Killer. Nothing Underneath. And Too Beautiful to Die, its follow-up. Enigma Rosso, or Red Rings of Fear. This is the 3rd part of the Schoolgirls in Peril trilogy, along with Solange and Daughters. Naked Girl Murdered in the Park. This one I was disappointed with. I was kind of expecting another kind of Last House type film. It didn't quite go there. And the last Blu-ray, I guess I have by itself, one of the weirdest and not a very good way, Death Laid an Egg. I had someone say this was the most coveted giallo film ever. This is pretty easy to find. But yeah, Death Laid an Egg. And then we have Forgotten Gialli Volume 1 with Trauma, Police Are Blundering in the Dark, and Killers 1 of 13. Really liked these two, especially Killers 1 of 13. This is one of the worst I've ever seen. And Trauma and 13 are both Spanish films, so I'm not quite sure why they're considered gialli, but alright. Then we have Volume 2 with Girl in Room 2A, French Sex Murders, and My Dear Killer. This one is about as police procedural as like the 70s era gialli can get. And then I just got this recently, Volume 3, and this is the actual box set, whereas these are standard issue. And so these come with Crazy Desires of a Murderer, Murder Mansion, and Autopsy. I would like to have this set for the first 2 volumes, but you know, I'm happy enough just to have these. All right, so yeah, there's one stack of giallo Blu-rays, and then here's the other one. So now we're gonna finish up with just the random DVDs that I have. This was one of the first things I got for the marathon. It's the giallo collection, just a 4-movie pack with some of my favorites, actually, like Short Night of Glass Dolls. This is a top 10 favorite. Case of the Bloody Iris, Who Saw Her Die, and The Bloodstained Shadow. I know that it looks like the Suspiria cover. Definitely more of a, this one is more atmosphere and suspense rather than the kills itself. But I do like all 4 of these movies. This is a pretty good set. Not always the easiest to put back in the box, though. And then we have back-to-back one of the worst I've seen, or one of my least favorites, and one of my most favorites. The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. This is one of my least favorites. And The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. This is a top 5 giallo. I love this movie. I love everything about it. Just love how it looks. Love the look of the killer. Great giallo. Alright, then we have another duology. Death Walks on High Heels and Death Walks at Midnight. Both of those are good. Oh, this is another one that's considered one of the best ever made. I can see why. Black Belly of the Tarantula. Another one of the earlier ones that I saw. Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion. Yeah, I'd only seen this once, and then I watched it again almost a decade later for this marathon. And this one's more about blackmail and a very different way to go about the genre. And I liked it a lot more than I remember liking it the first time. All right, then we have Eye in the Labyrinth, The Fifth Chord. Now, I wasn't as big of a fan of this one as most people are, but the cinematography is very well done. Watch Me When I Kill. Yeah, this one this is a late 70s one. Kind of feels more like a slasher. Looks like a late 80s slasher, but it's a giallo. Black Veil for Lisa. Very good pre-Argento 60s. Good twists and turns with it. They all do, but I just really remember liking the story for this one. Deadly Sweet. Probably one of the most experimental giallo films. I mean, this almost feels like a crazy, trippy student film with its editing and, yeah, very off the wall, but still kind of hypnotic at the same time. Alright, so then we have a handful for Raro Video. This is another kind of Polanski type, definitely more of a psychological film, but very, very, very well made. Perfume of the Lady in Black. Really like this film. This one's also a bit more of a Polizioteschi, but Death Occurred Last Night. Another one by Lamberto Bava, and that is Body Puzzle. 90s. I don't have too many from the 90s. And then this is definitely among the, actually, I'll save those for back-to-back. This is in the top 3 worst I've seen. That's Plot of Fear. And now these two, I would probably say, from what I've seen, these are the top two sleaziest. Keep in mind, I have not yet seen Giallo in Venice or The Killer is Still Among Us. But first is Slaughter Hotel, the other one of the two with Klaus Kinski, and one that is almost essentially softcore porno, Play Motel. I would have to say this is the worst, my least favorite, number one worst Giallo that I've seen so far. There's just not much to this film. Play Motel. And have just a few more. This is another one that I loved. Might be a top 10 or top 15 favorite. The only one I have from Shameless, and that is House with the Laughing Windows. Really like this movie. This is, I think, another Spanish one. But this is one with Carol Baker, which I really want to get the Umberto Lenzi Carol Baker Giallo box set. That's one thing I'm hoping for. That is The Fourth Victim. This looks and sounds like a zombie movie, but it's a pretty laughable Giallo. Very, very forgettable. So that has Samantha Eggar from Cronenberg's The Brood. That is The Dead Are Alive. I mean, what about this says Giallo? It looks like a zombie movie. The Murder Clinic. Another one of the earliest ones I have. The Embalmer. One of the last ones I reviewed as well. This doesn't look like a Giallo either, but also known as The Monster of Venice. I should have done some of the AKAs for these, but Naked You Die, which was originally going to be a Bava film, but Antonio Margheriti took over. Also known as The Young, the Evil, and the Savage. Naked You Die. This is another one of those girls' school type ones. This is another off the rails, crazy and sleazy one. Delirium. This is 1972 Delirium. And this could actually be two reviews because this comes with the international version and American version, which is almost 20 minutes difference with completely different editing and score. I watched the international one, and yeah, this movie's pretty nuts. Death Carries a Cane. It says Tormentor, but I like the original title, Death Carries a Cane. Killer Nun. And then these last two, again, these would be down at the bottom of my least favorites. Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye. I like the gothic atmosphere, but this is a pretty laughable movie. And this movie is just a colossal mess. Definitely the epitome of style over substance. And it's 90s, and it's just not a very pleasing movie to watch. It's actually a chore to sit through. It's a little over 2 hours. Only good thing is that Donald Pleasance is in it. That is Fatal Frames. Donald Pleasance's final film credit. So those are all of my official Giallo films. The only other thing I can really show are the Neo-giallo or Giallo homage films. Now, I don't mean like slasher films that were inspired by it, but ones that are designed to look and feel and evoke the same feelings and atmosphere of these 60s and 70s Giallo films. Of course, probably the best example as far as look, feel, sound, and really make you feel like you're watching something from that period. Luciano Onetti's Abracadabra, or the Onetti brothers, I should say. I still need to get Sono Profondo and Francesca, but this really did they did a great job at making it look and feel like a 70s giallo. And again, these are not movies like, you know, Pieces, where it was inspired by it, but it was a slasher from the same period. I mean, these could be modern day gialli if they were Italian, which I think Abracadabra is. And this was one of my last reviews. This is a French, Belgian, and Luxembourg co-production. Strange Color of Your Body's Tears. One of the craziest and most stylish films I've ever seen. And this is from Bruno Forzani and Helena Catet, married couple, which their previous film, Amer, or Amer, is another giallo tribute film that I need to pick up. And I think the director of this has said he was inspired by the genre, or people are just saying this is his answer to it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm trying to find the right time to watch it. And again, if you see a review where people are calling this a giallo, go ahead and leave a comment saying it's not. And that is James Wan's Malignant. It's not an official giallo, but from what I understand, it's just heavily inspired by it. So wow, with all those together, including these three, which are not official giallo, I just decided to show them as modern day, like what this spawned, without going into different genres like the slasher. 99 films. So I have 96 official giallo films. Wow. So I hope you enjoyed this collection video. At some point soon, I will do my complete Italian. This one I'm just gonna film and pan across the shelf. I'm not gonna take all those down. And a video of movies most commonly mistaken for giallo. Like, just to give you an idea, ones like Pieces, Dressed to Kill, Don't Look Now, Stage Fright, ones like that. I could go over my wish list of ones I want, but it's so friggin' long. But again, it may not be the biggest collection on YouTube, but I'm 4 away from 100, and I am very pleased with that. I love gialli. I loved even the bad ones. I loved going through, checking them out, reviewing them, just doing them all in succession. It was a great experience. It was a fun 5 months. And let me know what you think of this collection. And you know, I'm not done with gialli forever. I will come back to it, especially after Christmas, if I get some more. So let me know what you thought of the giallo portion of this marathon, this collection, and yeah. Thank you for sticking with me for 5 months, and thank you for watching.